Have you ever felt like an emotional manipulator knows exactly what buttons to push that'll make you angry, upset, or feel off balance? Those are your triggers. And we all have triggers, and a manipulator will treat those triggers kind of like a hidden control panel. They know exactly what buttons to push to get exactly the reaction that they want out of you. And when they get a reaction, at that point, then they get control. Today, I'm going to show you how to disconnect that panel. I'm Dr. Michael Zandi. I'm a clinical psychologist. I have over 40 years' experience helping people navigate relationships with narcissists and emotional bullies. Please note that this video is for educational purposes and it's not a substitute for therapy, but I do hope you'll get something out of it. The first thing you must do to take back control is identify what your specific triggers are. Over the years, I've seen many common buttons that manipulators love to push, such as being told you're selfish, getting the silent treatment, somebody raising their voice or being blamed for something you didn't do. A skilled manipulator will learn to push these buttons repeatedly to knock you off balance and get what they want. Once you identify your triggers, you can start de-escalating those reactions internally. For example, if your trigger is being called selfish, you can remind yourself that taking care of yourself really isn't selfish. You have a set of guardrails to protect your panel. I lay out exactly how to build these internal guardrails in my book, When They Won't Change. This book is available on Amazon. You can type in the title and pull it up, read the reviews, and see if it's something that you might find helpful. There's also a link to it in the description below. But internal guardrails typically aren't enough. You also need external boundaries. Now, people often set boundaries and then wonder why they fail. The reason's simple. There is no consequence. If you say, "Don't raise your voice at me," but then they raise your voice and nothing happens, you stay right in the room when they do it again, well, that boundary is just useless. A boundary with a real consequence sounds like this. If you raise your voice to me, I'm going to walk out of the room until you're ready to speak calmly. When I come back, we can try it again. And then when they test it, which they no doubt will, then at that point you have to follow through and step out. And then remind them I'll be back in a few minutes, and let's see if we can have a different sort of conversation then. Let me give you a real-world example of how this can work. I had a patient whose mother would constantly criticize his children. Now, his children were quite young. They were like 4 and 6 at the time, and they would do things that normal 4 and 6-year-old children do. They could be rambunctious and so on. But the problem was his mother would get angry at them, and that would upset him. It was a trigger for him. It reminded him of how he was treated at that age. Well, he and his wife set a firm boundary. They said, "Mom, if you do this, we're going to have to leave, basically to protect our children. And then we'll come back and try again tomorrow and see how it goes then." Now, of course, she tested that boundary. They then immediately followed through with the consequence and left. But because they held firm, she actually corrected that behavior. So this is the trick. You have to follow through even when it sometimes feels uncomfortable because it's a change for you as well. Sometimes you might have to enforce that consequence multiple times before a manipulator finally realizes that you're not going to let them touch your control panel anymore. A complete guide on how to protect your triggers and enforce these consequences is in my book, again, When They Won't Change. Pick it up. It's available on Amazon in paperback or electronically, and the link is right below in the description. Thank you very much, and hit subscribe if you'd like to get more of my videos. Thank you.